Hey, what's up? Back at you with another video. Fresh off the one with Rob Hersov coming to DJ Sbu's The Hustler's Corner, we are now back at you with Dan Corder. The title of the video is Dan Corder, Politics, AfriForum, 142 Race Laws, Trump, Elon, Radio, 5FM, Good Hope, Podcasting, ENCA. And at this current moment, we jump into a segment where they are speaking about podcasting. We'll have a listen to them speaking about Podcast and Chill and their MultiChoice deal that is going on. Then he will also go on to talk about how YouTube and content creation really does present itself as an opportunity for the young black person who's got style, who's got personality, who can really take a chance and be different, which is how he says he got in, by being something completely different. Then thereafter, we will hear about him talk about the platform X, the racism that has spread there, and then he will go on to talk about the South African racists, locals. He calls them a group of white idiots.
I mean, I'm sure you saw that one TV show of mine went viral when I just took on all of these white idiots online. Like, you know, the Kiffness and Roland Skuman and Elon and all these people, the 142 race laws.
And for Dan Corder being the person that he is, a person who will sit with a black man like that and talk about the truth of how racist many white people are in South Africa. Because of being this type of guy, you will remember that Renaldo Kiffness did a video where he called him a little dick. Today we've got Renaldo Kiffness calling Dan Corder a little.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on clear misinformation by mainstream media. This isn't something new, but you know, when you are an arrogant little dick like Dan Corder, it needs to be called out.
You heard that? And he's also been attacked by Lachlan Nicholson, who says he doubts that he's this person that he's appearing to be to the naked eye. He's saying that Dan Corder is somebody who may have a let me help black people superiority complex because they can't do anything for themselves.
As a white person, you can be a Kim Heller who loves the EFF. You can be a Dan Corder. You can be one of these white liberals, you know, who sort of understand and fight for the black struggle.
One thing I should point out here is that these white liberals to whom you refer are not your friend as a black person. White liberals who virtue signal and do performative activism on behalf of blacks in South Africa or really anywhere else in the world don't do it because they understand or care about your struggle. They do it because they consider themselves better than you as people, and they think that without them acting as your white saviors, you will never achieve anything. So if I were you, I wouldn't put faith in them.
You heard that? So this was when Lachlan was doing a response to Penwell's video called Dear White People. And so there Penwell tried to say, look, other white people, perhaps assimilate and look at these very more friendly white people like Dan Corder and Kim Heller, etc., etc. And so Lachlan responded like that to him. So we are now here with the Dan Corder. We will get to now find out for ourselves who he is. And I hope you are inspired. I hope you enjoy this. Let's jump in.
Deal with the other podcasters and just the entire
MultiChoice, here.
Break down the deal the way you understand it. I didn't go deeper into it, but for me, I just congratulated the guys. I think it's a way forward for us content creators.
Well, I think it's about time. I think that the TV industry is really starting to have a heart attack in South Africa because linear TV views are dropping dramatically. COVID did that. COVID suddenly slashed SABC1 S1's viewership immediately because people were stuck at home. COVID was a big reason why TikTok exploded in South Africa because people just wanted so much entertainment during lockdown. And a lot of linear TV is now suffering. And you know what's also crazy is our data costs are so high in South Africa. If our data costs were similar to other places in the world, TV would be dead. Except for SuperSport and like SABC Sport. TV would be dead in this country. Mainly data costs are the reason why TV is still going in South Africa. But what TV is also seeing is these phenomenal audiences that people are building online, like a MacG, these enormous audiences that absolutely swamp nearly all the TV channels on like DSTV, for example. And so if anything, I think that TV is like 5 years too late. This MacG deal should have happened 3-4 years ago. Also, MultiChoice wouldn't have had to pay so much for it.
So tell me, so do they give the money up front, or they're just licensing their content and then sell it into the marketplace and split the profits?
So I don't know what the interior of that deal is, but what I do know is that they're not going to be able to do podcasts and chill on a BCCSA regulated platform, television. The kind of stuff that they talk about sometimes, the kind of jokes that they make, we know that both Sol and Mac have struggled with the BCCSA in the past. We know that they've both lost work because of stuff that they've said on traditional broadcasters. And now they're going to have to create material for traditional broadcasters. And so they're going to, I think they're being put on Mzansi Magic, or it's like one of the TV channels. And the goal is going to be to try and pull some of their online viewers to watch that material. But they're going to have to try and create a new kind of show, or at least a show that doesn't have the serious edge that they've been doing online that people love. But if you don't have that serious edge, you've got to give people a reason to go watch the TV show rather than just continue to watch on YouTube. So what I'm guessing is they're going to create unique TV purpose-driven content that you'll only be able to find on television, because MultiChoice is not going to sign a deal to put something on TV which you can also see on YouTube. They're never going to do that. So they're going to have to create custom content that only lives on TV. Also, I'm pretty sure Mac and Sol and the rest won't want all of their podcast and chill stuff on TV because they run this unbelievably successful company on YouTube. They don't want to give that to MultiChoice. So my suspicion is that they, along with the other 7 podcast shows, are going to create purpose-driven, unique for TV material that only lives there and basically license it to MultiChoice for syndication, or maybe even allow MultiChoice to own the intellectual property so that it only exists on that side and get paid to provide the show. That's what I do for ENCA. I get paid and given a budget to provide them my show. And
so you're a supplier.
Yeah, I'm an external service provider.
Yeah, he's a service provider. He's doing his work contractually. He's a contractor. Am I correct? This is the opposite side of employment. Having your signature on an employment contract, having a salary per month. There are people who don't operate like that. Their contract says, give me 10 episodes, then we're done. We can keep talking. You're still Dan Corder, you're still talented. Or you can move on to another place where you'll be very much wanted. What a nice life, you know? What a nice life to be constantly in demand. Is he constantly in demand? He is the best at what he does. He is incredibly unique. He's talented.
Yeah. This is interesting. I'm actually really enjoying this because I've never had an interview when somebody... Yeah. This is interesting. I'm actually really enjoying this because I've never had an interview when somebody wants to talk about the nitty-gritty of how media is made. This is cool.
It's interesting because I've been at it all of my life.
Yeah, me too.
And deals like these, bro, they're really good for people like us who keep on evolving with this thing.
Yeah.
Right? I started it back then. There was no social media. I come from campus radio and community radio, all the way to YFM, PBS radio. I've done Ukozi FM, bro. I've done Ukozi Breakfast.
That's mad.
You know, that's amazing. So I've been at this thing for quite some time, and even when the game was evolved, we were actually meant to start Podcast and Chill together, myself and Mac.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it ended up not happening, but I'm so proud of what Mac has done. But at the time, I was also busy with Massive Metro. You heard of it, right?
Yeah, of course. I know all about it.
So I was doing Massive Metro at the time. Massive Metro, we ran out of money, COVID-19 lockdowns, a lot of businesses were struggling. Yeah. So we cut those losses, we kept it moving, but I also evolved into podcasting. Started this podcast in 2019. It's been 5 years now. But just from starting in 2019, 2020 to where the internet is right now in the country.
2019 is when I bought my first camera and I started learning media, how to shoot, how to edit, how to voice over, how to color grade, how to write a story, how to tell a story. And so COVID-19 and the lockdown happened just as I just bought brand new equipment, and now there was a lockdown. But I still found a way to just get out beyond the streets, shoot some content, sharing some visuals over there. I work with some young, beautiful women, and we agreed to just do some beauty films, to just have them dress, be pretty, and I and a crew would learn cameras by working with them. It would be exciting. It would be nice to be working with beautiful women. We would be inspired to find out how to use a camera because that would be our excuse to hang out with them. So Sbu has experienced some problems and he's about to now talk about the internet and how things have changed since that time. If you know, you know. Hasn't been the same. It's been very different. Let's hear about that from him though.
But just from starting in 2019, 2020 to where the internet is right now in the country, it's beautiful for all of us.
Amazing. Hey?
The future is really bright, bro.
Yeah, and for me, what I'm so excited about is both individual content creators, because there are so many South Africans who are ruined by unemployment or killer work that takes up their whole lives, or no educational opportunities, or trying to pay off kind of like incredible student loans, or have debts, or looking after their family. They, by the market, are not given opportunities to advance themselves. But something like having a phone and a sense of humor or a shtick or some kind of skit or kind of performance to provide, you can really overcome a lot of that by becoming famous on your own terms. It's like such a destruction of the gatekeeping of the celebrity industry. Brother, I never would have been led into the fucking... Do we...
Look at the freeze frame. Ooh, it's dead real life story, my dude. Hey, you went in with your heart.
It's okay. It's a podcast. It's okay. It's okay. Go right ahead.
I have a filthy mouth. It's just instinctively the mic's here. I would never, ever have got into the big celebrity lists of this country if it wasn't for social media. I would never. I was not selling the right thing. I was not being the right person. It would never have happened. But now some of the most famous people in this country send me super fan DMs on Instagram, and I appreciate that. And it's only because social media just allowed me to show exactly what I love doing and allowed people to respond to it. So I think that's really amazing. Like, there are so many content creators online who I can see from where they start to where they are now that it's transformed their lives.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that social media, there'd be no other way for them to do that, because this country is so economically compromising to so many people. So that's amazing. But the other thing, man, I talk about this all the time. Look, us the whites are not very good at engaging with South Africa. There's still an apartheid colonial mentality hangover where a lot of white people live in South Africa, but they're not of South Africa. Kind of
you
like
did a video like that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
About people still being caught up in that UK
colonial
European
mentality.
westernized mentality, right?
You know more about the UK politics and the American celebrities than you do South Africa. Frankly, any South African who doesn't know who Bonang is, you have failed. like you haven't done something that you need to do to be a part of this country and the majority of this country. And white people in particular have a problem with that. But what I said on a radio show a few weeks ago was like, you know what TikTok has done? It allows all South Africans to meet each other online when they don't meet each other in real life. It's like a great example. One of my favorite trends of the whole year is Sobonane Matune.
Yeah.
What an amazing... I sing that every day.
I know you get on your phone and it's just there.
Look how it's evolved. It was
South Africa is a movie.
welcome
guys.
to the watch party. Yeah, it was like beat up taxis, and then it was like rough living circumstances, and then it was that Sviso or whoever his name is, the Wits engineer walking like an undertaker, and like any South African could go and encounter that. I didn't know what Sobonane Matuleni was. I never heard of the song.
Hey, do y'all know, have you been seeing? I have some playing on the screen right now.
When that started, but now I know,
Yeah,
and now
man.
I understand, and South Africans are generous people. They're willing to explain. And the internet has allowed us, if you choose to do so, to encounter so much more of South Africa and so many more South Africans. I think that's the great blessing. It's the culture sharing that can happen if you choose to do it.
I love what you're saying. And with everything that's going on right now with Elon Musk and Trump, it seems they've divided us.
Yeah.
I believe, let's talk about Twitter especially. It's not what it was a year ago. I'm seeing a lot of racism happening, and I'm seeing a lot of divisive statements from a lot of influential people, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the dark place, I call it the dark place, formerly known as Twitter, because Twitter was our thing that we built long before Elon bought it. And I think we need to remember that. That's a community that we built. I've been a Twitter obsessive addict since the jump, man. Like, it's absolutely the thing. But it's just amazing how, and amazing in a bad way, how, and I mean, there's all the data. Actually, I don't know what day this show is coming out, this episode, but it'll probably be 2 weeks ago now. But as we record.
So this would probably be the second week of April. Yeah?
Okay, cool. So as we record today, which is.
It's the first week of April. Today's the 4th.
Late March on a Friday. Today, I've got a YouTube special coming out about how Twitter is an addiction that is ruining South African journalism. I really, really, really do believe that. And I'm happy to talk about that in a second. But just to understand what has happened to Twitter. So Elon came in saying it's all about free speech. But what he actually did was he fired all the content moderation teams who were holding back the bigots, who were stopping disinformation, who were stopping lies, who were stopping hatefulness. And Twitter has become one of the most racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic or like anti-Muslim places. Every vector of hatefulness is now worse on Twitter than it was 3 years ago. That is the irony of Elon Musk saying it's a free speech thing. But the other thing that Elon has done is he's not actually made free speech, because a lot of people who criticize him have been banned, have been shadow banned, have been removed. And the other thing that he has done is, and there's all the data on this, I'm not making this up, this has been academically proven, is he has retrained the algorithm to prioritize his own tweets and the tweets of right-wing alt-right ideologues. So when you go on Twitter, even if you've blocked all of them, even if you have never liked a conservative racist post in your life, even if the algorithm has no reason based on your previous behavior to give you that, you will see it. And it means that Twitter has become genuinely a cesspit of disinformation, hatefulness, and bigotry. And it's extraordinary to me how sad that is, because for 10 years, Twitter was the place where the world's most powerful journalists, politicians, business people came to really talk and to really swap ideas and to really talk about the world. And that's why Twitter became so influential in worldwide news journalism, because you could really go on Twitter and you could find the best thinkers in the world talking to each other and you could report on that. But now it's this cesspit of awfulness and fake disinformation, and you can pay to get your tweets performing better, and you can recycle hatred. And the particular problem, and this is the show that I'm putting out today, the particular problem with South African journalism is that South African journalism has suffered a funding collapse in the last 10 years. There's no money in journalism. Publications are closing. Journalists are now being forced to write dozens of articles a week, just churn out as much as possible to try and compete with the internet, and they're getting paid basically nothing to do it.
Yeah.
And this is because of Google and Twitter and Facebook basically taking their work, giving it to the world, and pocketing all the ad revenue themselves instead of our news journalists. So South African news media is in a funding crisis right now, okay? Now, if you are a journalist who is being paid less than 20,000 Rand a month, and you need to put out 4 articles a day, you have no time to go and actually do some journalism, actually do some research. You need to create articles that are going to be read, and you need to find all the information on your screen because you don't have time to go out and find it, right? So what do? You go on Twitter. You go and look for a story on Twitter that is there. How do you justify it to your editor as being a worthwhile story? You need to prove to the editor that someone will read the story. And the way you do that is you go on Twitter and you see a story is trending. So you go to your editor and you say, this story is trending. If I write it, people will read.
I watched, by the way, how he spoke about this topic where news is really scraping the bottom of the barrel. They are really trying to compete to be young and hip, reporting things on Twitter. They're trying to take the market shares of the Owamis and the Sims and the Ndibutis. And so things that are strange are being blasted out into the broader world. And it's looking like South Africa is a stage where people are really just dancing and robbing and graping only.
Read it because it's trending. Editor says yes. You write the story, you put it out. Now the story is a real news media story. Now an enormous publication has told the whole country this story is important and people care about this story, right?
And you're legitimizing it.
And you're legitimizing it and you're spreading it with your prestige stamp. Do you know how many tweets it requires to trend on South Africa's Twitter?
No.
2,000. You only need 2,000 people in this country to tweet about, say, Papa Penny, and he's 10th on the trending list. So you only need 2,000 tweets, And then a news media organization will run that as though the whole country is talking about Papa Penny when it's only 2,000 out of 66 million. And then everyone thinks everyone's talking about Papa Penny. So suddenly 2,000 tweets on Twitter become the news. That is a disaster, my man. That is a disaster. Because what then happens is you can go on Twitter, you can get 2,000 people in 10 WhatsApp groups to make a hashtag trend. You can get 10 people to program 100 bots each, and then you have 10,000 tweets. And suddenly, let's use an example. Put South Africa first. That example, put South Africa first. That was an example where, or like Operation Dudula, for example. These are small groups of people who leverage the internet to get a trend, a hashtag to trend, that then journalists wrote about as though millions of people thought this was the case. And then millions of people across South Africa thought everyone thinks this, but they don't. And that's why Twitter is so ruinous for our sense of the real in South Africa, our sense of what people actually believe, man. I could get 2,000 tweets on Monday morning saying DJ Sbu is white. And brother, by that evening, there would be 10 news articles on that would make it seem as though most of the country thinks DJ Sbu is white. And that is a disaster, man. And that's something that our news media needs to stop doing because they are unwittingly lying to the country. I think about that all the time. What's happened to Twitter has been so bad for this country. So bad.
So not only this country then, it means any country, because then it means Elon is weaponizing.
He is, dude. He is. And Elon, by gearing the algorithm to always share his tweets, there's like this amazing piece of data which shows that Elon is the most read person on Twitter because he has manipulated the algorithm so that you always see his stuff even if you don't follow him or like his tweets, right? So if Elon says something, suddenly everybody on Twitter sees it and suddenly it's a news headline all around the world, even if it's only Elon. And brother, then you're fucked. Then you are so fucked.
So if we're there with just Twitter or call it X, what's going to happen then with Starlink? Because in the beginning, it's all about fast and cheap internet. It's all about us changing our lives, getting more information, and the rural communities getting online.
The USA would call that a threat to national security, as they said TikTok was, as they claim Chinese cars would also be, because there are cameras and sonar, whatever motion detection they're using, would collect data about the length of streets in the United States, and the United States doesn't want somebody in China sitting with a computer knowing every block of San Diego.
It's all good and well.
Yep.
And then what happens a couple of years later? He weaponizes it.
Well, he's already weaponized it because he gave Starlink to Ukraine, and Ukraine has used Starlink to do some of their communications in the war. And 3 weeks ago, there was talk that Elon would pull Starlink from Ukraine.
See now, bro.
So like these oligarchical billionaires have figured out how to buy the things we really need. And if we don't fuck with them, and that's what keeps me up at night. That stops me from sleeping. And a lot of my work is, I mean, I'm sure you saw that one TV show of mine went viral when I just took on all of these white idiots online. Like, you know, the Kiffness and Roland Skuman and Elon and all these people, the 142 race laws. The real reason why I did that is because I was like, if these guys keep talking.
This is why Renaldo called him a little dick who would sell out his grandmother. You hear how he's sounding like a dude you could play PlayStation with? Does he sound in any way white? He sounds like a smart, everyday black dude who is serious about his life, who is doing something professional. Would sound like you can chill with him. But the Ronaldos want hostility. They want no example of some kind of unity. Blacks marrying white women. Hey!
Unchallenged, then this becomes what people believe. And I couldn't stand for that.
And please, let's break it down for those that didn't see it.
Oh, which one? I can talk about all of them.
That video when you went in on everyone, that TV show. The one that went viral.
So so firstly, the alt-right in South Africa, mainly the white alt-right, is doing a concerted disinformation campaign right now.
All over the world.
All over the world,
yes.
And in South Africa. We're very lucky that the South African alt-right is not particularly talented.
He says they are lame. Says they're fresh out of style.
Like the American alt-right that they're trying to be like is very talented and trying to spread disinformation. If Tucker Carlson came to South Africa, we'd have a problem. But if you think about him, he's an immensely talented operator in the media.
That's a serious propagandist there, man. Talent, gold medal. He can sell you a pen for $100 each.
Right, white is not talented, but they do have voice, okay? And so, particularly since Trump, there has been this move to like spread all this disinformation to make white South Africans feel like we aren't the most privileged group of people, not in the country, but in most of the world, right? There's been this sense of trying to create white victimhood, you know, the refugees and the Afroforum and the solidarity. And so I just made this TV show debunking a lot of the claims that they were trying to spread online.
What is that? Why would you spend your one life that you have pretending like it's not going well for you? What magic, what spell, what overcomes people and makes them wanna hush, let's not show how well we are having it? What's up with that? What's up with that? Really, what is up with that? What's that about? What is it for? Black people wish to be rich so they can be seen, so they can live in the suburb, drive the car, go to the vacation spots, get the education, have the free time, have access to AI. And if they got all of that, you would be able to see it. But white people are trying to hide. Is that a taxpayer mentality? Is that what Bo Mamkize get wrong? They want to be seen, and now in order to be seen, you need to spend some of that money you should be paying to the tax man, and you end up living this lavish life on 25 million. That is actually not yours. And so the white people are perhaps of the different mindset that says, yo, that's the most biggest epic danger that you could try to do yourself. So no. Keep it on the hush. Let the idiots be seen. Is it a taxpayer mentality? Is it a minority that's rich in a majority poor country? Is that how the chips just settle? The privilege is so much that you have to now act like one of the victims. Hey, yeah, man. I know what it's like in Khayelitsha, man. I know what it's like in the Cape Flats. We're struggling. We're in a war zone over here. There's a war zone in the Cape Flats. Not in the farms, man.
Because I know that if enough people on Twitter say there are 142 race laws, then a lot of South Africans will say there are 142 race laws because people haven't taken the time to go and find out if there are. What is a race law? What does that mean? And so I systematically went through a bunch of nonsense that people had been saying. So the first one was the Kiffness, who I will remind you is a musician who does cat meow videos. Don't know how he became an authority on democracy. Anyway, so he said and peddled that most white South Africans were against apartheid by saying that because most white South Africans in the referendum in the early 90s on whether or not to end apartheid, they voted to end apartheid. Therefore, white South Africans were against apartheid. Now, that is manipulation of a true fact to spread a huge lie. Because yes, the majority of white South Africans did vote for the National Party to continue negotiations with the ANC towards CODESA in the early 90s. They did do that. But white South Africans in that referendum were voting for what the NPA told them to do. Because what a lot of people don't know is that the NPA wanted people to vote yes on that referendum. They told them that would be the best thing for white South Africa. They set up that referendum for the yes vote to win to stay in power because they had a white... righter than them problem brewing in the country. And they realized they were going to lose power. And so they wanted to go in for a new South Africa and wash their identities, literally whitewash their history. But the truth of the matter is, man, and this is so obviously true, 3 years before that referendum, the vast majority of white South Africans voted for the National Party to continue apartheid. And years before that, and years before that, and years before that. White South Africans, majority voted for the NP 10 times in a row over 41 years to create and maintain apartheid. So to say that a 92 referendum that the NPA told white South Africans to vote yes for means white South Africans against apartheid is just, frankly, deeply disrespectful ruining of our history, deeply offensive misportrayal of our history. The manipulation of a single fact to try and make it look like history isn't the way it is like a fundamental strategy of disinformation. So that was the first one. Roland Skuman, who I'll remind you is a swimmer who was caught doping. He apparently is now an expert on democracy. He called apartheid a limited democracy, which is just like, sorry, bro. A democracy by definition is every adult has equal power to contribute to the creation of a system of governance that runs the country. If not every adult has that, it's not a democracy. It's like as simple as that. But trying to misportray our history by saying, oh, it's a limited democracy. Okay, cool. So like by that argument, the Chinese, China is a democracy because they vote in the Chinese Communist Party, but no other Chinese people vote. It's obviously not a democracy. There was that one. Elon Musk said that Stalin can't be in South Africa because he's not black. That is literally bullshit. like that is literally, there is no law. Grok called him out saying that's nonsense. And then the 142 race laws, a couple of very deluded right-wing NGOs try to argue that there are 142 race laws in this country that are kind of like apartheid. They were like, there are more race laws in modern South Africa than there were during apartheid.
So this is how you actually get to create the victimhood, create the impression that you're not as good as you are. You actually write a list of things. I haven't looked into these laws, man. Don't care. I can see with my eyes. I can tell from the people that I'm listening to about these 142 race laws. The characters are the same. South Africa is limited. You can see it's Renaldo. You can see it's his boss, Rob Hersov. You can see it's the AfriForum and Solidarity. These are conspiracy theorists. They've been so for a long time. So in this one life that you can enjoy and grip the steering wheel of your Land Cruiser with your family in the back, knowing that you're living in a country with black people who adore you, who would compete for you, to work for you, to be in close proximity to you, who are so humble when they see you, the person of the other class. When they wipe your windows, they whistle for you. You're reminded every day, hey, Mlungu, the one of that class. And you go create 142 race laws. This is a sad and depressing life what right-wingers are living.
It look like South Africa is a racist place run by a racist government. So they will never themselves say that these 142 race laws are as bad as apartheid, but the way that they frame it means people online then say that for them. So 142
Fill in the gaps with your mind.
race laws is put out, and then the Kiffness will post an image of Cyril Ramaphosa with like an AI-generated caption saying, most racist country in the world. That's how it's used. But then we went and I read, unfortunately, like 80 of these laws.
You read 80 of them?
I read 80 of them because I was just like, I need to deal with this. I can't. Because their strategy is to put on so many laws that you'll never bother to read them.
And they never bother to present them. That's where I saw the scam at. I was like, bro, if you've got the slam dunk, let's go through it. You understand? Maybe they have videos out there. Maybe they don't. Right-wingers, do y'all have a full breakdown of this anywhere? In video, not on a website, where you are giving an exposition so we can see the sincerity or the lies in your eyes as you try to deceive us, as you try to sell us a pen that is not a real pen.
So I went and read 80 of them because I was like, I need to deal with this. What they did was they took every law which says that historically disadvantaged communities deserve some kind of consideration in employment or equity or conflict resolution moments in government, which is perfectly reasonable. That's called justice.
Fixing the injustices
Literally,
of the past.
It's called redress. And they call all of those race laws. And it's like, okay, so if you were brave and honest, what you would really say is you hate any law that tries to give historically disadvantaged people who are still disadvantaged in the modern day South Africa a fair and equal opportunity to get those jobs.
Satanism.
Because we know that on average, black South Africans struggle to get work and white South Africans don't. And we know that that's a hangover of apartheid because many black South Africans get denied good nutrition as kids because they're poverty stricken, good schooling, good access to personal networks to get jobs, good access to university. And then when even they get to the application round, overwhelmingly white people are still hired. So it's a perfectly reasonable thing to try and make a fair and equal and just playing field to get jobs, to say, hey, by the way, your workplace should also look like South Africa. Your workplace should also have black people in it. That's pretty fine. Like, that seems like a good idea. But then these guys say, oh, no, it's a race law and it's discriminatory. The funny thing is that in most of these laws, it actually says three things. There are three kinds of people who need to be helped because it's unfair, the way that they're treated by society. People of color, because of systemic racism. Women, because of sexism, stopping women from having jobs. And the physically disabled, because very, very often there is an exclusion of disabled people in workplaces. So these fuckers could have called them 142 sex laws.
Bro.
Or 142 able laws.
Yes.
Because that's also what it said. But they don't have a problem with the others.
Yeah.
It shows you their real agenda, that they call them race laws. It's
crazy. Dan Corder, I see why you hate it, man.
sowing of this misconception of the truth, because genuinely they could have come up with the same list and said these laws are sexist because it said just as much. Man, it boils my blood. So anyway, that show came out and everyone's now watched that show.
So yeah, let's leave it right there. I hope you enjoyed it. This ends at 56 minutes and we are still at 46 minutes. So there's another 10 minutes of this that you can go continue watching. Go support Sbu. Hit like on his video. Hit like on this one. Check out Dan Corder's content. Subscribe. Hit like so that it comes out. He just dropped a video 2 hours ago. Says the truth about Trump's 30% South Africa tariff. Kali Grill is lying in brackets over there. So you and I will see each other in the next one. I will see you next time.